I remember when I had my first beer. I was 7 and in the second grade. I remember thinking, this is going to taste just like cream soda. And I loved cream soda. I was given the drink by a boy named Stephen Cobble. He was my older brother's friend, 6 years my senior. We drank it at the park across the street from my house, standing on the old rock bridge. Sean lived across the alleyway from us. It took less than a minute to get to his backyard and climb up his garage, where we would often find him hanging out, drinking his dad's beers while playing his Game Boy. During the summer in the late 90s, we were let loose during the summers and then expected to return home when it started getting dark. We often stayed within an earshot of one of my dad's famous child-gathering whistles. We'd grab our bikes, bike a few miles around the town, and be back before sunset. This is just how it happened in the small town I lived in. Everyone knew us Capehart kids. We were trouble, because at least 2 of us were thieves. We were the poor, troublemaking kids that never had enough money to pay for our gas station sodas. So when we found a friend that lived in a nicer house and had nicer things like video game consoles, TV, air conditioning, food, parents that allowed kids to come in their houses, that kind of stuff, we definitely took advantage of it. So we often hung out with Stephen Cobble as he supplied us food, entertainment, beer, and occasionally cigarettes. Stephen's house was a popular place to go during the hot summer. And while my brothers were enjoying these amenities Stephen provided, Stephen's attention fell on me. Today's episode includes content that may be disturbing to some. Please be advised. I'm Jess Faulkner, and this is Just Jess. The title of today's episode is The Long Summer of '97. Time for some updates. Since everyone has guilted me about not taking medication, I have decided to start the Jacophy. I'll be starting that on Friday. Jacophy has some serious and some pretty extreme side effects, but it is supposed to lower the size of my spleen and keep my platelet numbers where we want them in the regular range. Jacophy could also cause weight gain and a rise in cholesterol. It can cause fatigue, dizziness, diarrhea, headache, weight gain, and gas. The medication might also increase your risk of getting a rare but very serious and sometimes fatal brain infection called, I'm going to try this, progressive multifocal leukoencephalopathy. Encephalopathy. I'm close, okay. The Jacophy can also increase my risk of clotting and can also increase the risk of cardiovascular events such as a heart attack or stroke, which I'm already at high risk for. So I'm pretty nervous about starting the Jacophy because my support group says that it is harder than the hydroxyurea and that people are usually on it for a long time, that it is a management medication, maintenance medication. So I will probably be on it for a long time if I can tolerate it. But if I can't tolerate it, then I'm not going to take it. I will say that the gabapentin has worked wonders for me, and it's just been such a miracle drug for me because I don't have to walk with a cane, and that's so nice. It's so nice to not be in excruciating leg pain all the time. The neuropathic pain is just pretty crazy and pretty intense. Some other updates. I got my Mantis kit in, and I am very excited. I have to grow some wingless fruit flies, which I am excited about. I am going to do that today. I have 3 mantis eggs. 2 of them will hatch in 6 to 8 weeks. One of them will hatch in about a week or a week and a half. And they'll hatch anywhere between 80 and 200 praying mantises. And then they'll eat themselves until there's like 5 left. And then those are the ones that I'm going to keep. And I'll probably just keep 1 out of those 5 and give the other ones away so that other people can have praying mantises. But that's kind of my plan. I now have 22 plants on my desk. That includes 8 that are being propagated, 5 cactuses, including my big monstrose apple cactus. His name is Post Malone. I have a fiddle leaf tree whose leaves I just cleaned yesterday, so now she's all shiny. All the plants on my desk that are actually on my desk are all female. Like my money tree that I'm looking at right now, she's got some buns on her. She's got some buns. That's for sure. I do have a cactus shelf that's to my left of my computer, and it holds 4 of my cactus pots, including Post Malone. Hey, Post. He's pretty big and lumpy. I currently have 10 plants attached to my window, to include 4 air plants, 1 plant that I'm propagating, and then 6 pretty random plants. I can't name all of them. And of course, these don't include the ones I have in my room. I just made this beautiful setup with the shower curtain with the shower pole, shower shelf that I had that we're not using, but has been in a box and has been sitting in my room for some time. So I set it up in my room next to my window, and I hung the little baskets on it. And now I'm using it as like a plant rack, and it's wonderful. The setup includes hostas, a fuzzy and beautiful 3-leaved alocasia, some succulents, and some vining plants. It looks great. Thankfully, my local plant shop, Plant Haven, was having this incredible sale, 35% off of plants to make room for their new shipment. So I grabbed all the plants that I could, and now I have lots. And I also have more downstairs, which are just a couple of snake plants, some climbing plants, and some cactus. I think because I'm surrounded by death and the idea of death, I like to be surrounded by living things. So a podcast update. We are just a few people away from 10,000 listeners. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you again. I am always looking for guests to tell their stories. If you want to be a guest on my show and you have a truth to tell, contact me. Email me. Shoot me an Instagram message. You can find me all over the place. I'm easy to find. I will be getting ready for a reading from one of my witchy planty friends, Angela. She's a very sweet and wise, beautiful soul. She sold me some crystals for the house and a witchy bath soak, which was amazing. And you can just feel that she's good people. She always gives me a hug. She's always excited to see me. She's just very beautiful. It's always a very positive experience when I see her. I really appreciate her company and her positive attitude towards me. I have some other guests lined up, including a breast cancer survivor, a survivor of childhood sexual abuse, and maybe my friend Anna, mainly just because she's such a big boss and strong woman. People need to know her story and how incredible she is. I'm going to talk to a mom who lost her children, and another mom who recently lost her child and wants to share her story. And we're going to talk to a mom who had an abortion. So We have a lot of great guest lines up on the podcast, so stay tuned. Incoming packages. I love this update. This is a wonderful update, and it's one of my favorite ones. So I have purchased glasses from Wearlight. It is an online glasses shop, and I'm trying it out. It's called Wearlight. They have a bunch of cute frames, and they're very cheap. They have a buy one get one sale right now, and so I took advantage of that and got myself 4 pairs of glasses, all very cute, all very fancy, and for about $115, so that was a pretty good price. I also have a neon sign on the way that says Just Jess that I'm going to hang on my left side right under my cactus. Today I'll be getting some clip-on grow lights, and also my wingless fruit flies will be here today just in time for my mantises to hatch in a week or a week and a half or so. I ordered some gauges from Ukraine. They're made with Ukrainian seaweed, and they're handmade, and I'm really excited about them. And I should be getting those eventually. I am not really in a rush because there's a war going on there, and I'm not in a rush to receive things from there because I realize that it's craziness happening. And I guess I want to take this time to say that I support Ukraine and that I am with Ukraine, and that this is just one small way that I can send my support to Ukraine. I'm also expecting 2 shipments of clothing from they have clothes, stuffies for my kids. I bought a bunch of propagation vases that are in the shape of colorful mushrooms for my desk. I got some earrings, some jewelry, just some things like that. I did just get my Just Jess shirts in and my hat. I'm very excited to wear these and to sport them, and maybe somebody will ask about them, but I'm just glad that I can, give my mom a shirt and give myself a shirt and just be in support of myself. Some other updates. Urs and Josh's dance, their daddy-daughter dance, is on Friday, and Josh has rented a tuxedo. Urs has this beautiful pink gown with a hoop skirt and white gloves and slippers that look like they're made of glass, and this beautiful gold and white and pink headband. She looks like a princess, and she feels like $1,000,000, and it's so nice to see her see herself. It's a beautiful thing to see your child see themselves, especially when they're beautiful and they can see that. I love it. I think my friend Charlie's going to come visit for a bit. Charlie and I have been talking every day for about a week or so now. Charlie's one of my oldest friends. We used to work at Live Well together. Before I was married, before I had kids, just in a whole lifetime ago. But Charlie and I would work together. Charlie was my boss. He was my supervisor on the floor. And we would just have so much fun at work. I loved working with Charlie because Charlie always kept the mood really nice and light. But I remember one day our air conditioner broke, and it was in the middle of summer, and it was so hot. And we were just drenched in sweat. We were miserable. Everybody who was coming in was like, "Oh, it's so hot in here." We were like, "Yeah, we know. It's disgusting." So we went and got some ice pops, and we just ate ice pops all day because it was so hot. And it was a good time. And I really miss those days. Those were good times. I miss my Live Well crew a lot. I don't talk to most of them anymore, but Charlie stuck around. Charlie and I had babies around the same time. our kids are pretty much the same age. They're just a couple months apart, and they were best friends growing up as babies. They were best friends as babies. So Charlie's good people. I really love Charlie a lot. You hear me, Charlie? I love you. Now for some no love, where I get no love, I want to get a tattoo. I am on blood thinners, so tattoos work a little differently for me now. But I want to get a tattoo. I want to get some small hearts on my cheekbones. And I know that's a face tattoo, but I am tattooed literally from my feet to, my neck. And I'm ready to put little delicate hearts on my face. And my dad is having a cow about it. My dad is having an absolute cow about it. First, he told me he wouldn't talk to me anymore. Then he called me white trash. Then he said he knows whores and prostitutes with face tattoos. Told me he'd lose respect for me. He was just saying a lot. And I think it's because how hurt he was, because he doesn't want me to have a face tattoo, which I understand, okay? I'm not getting like a teardrop on me or anything, or like some big face piece. I just want little fucking hearts on my cheekbones, tiny little freckle hearts on my cheeks. So I found a place that will do it, and I'm gonna get them done. It's just what I want to do. Just my next tattoo, probably my last tattoo in life. And my dad's having a really hard time with it and kind of being a big dick about it. But that's my dad. He's kind of a dick. But I love him because he's my dad. And he's the only one I got. Trust me, I've tried to replace him tons of times, but he is just irreplaceable. So that's it for updates. Let's get into the episode. What is child sexual abuse? Child sexual abuse covers a range of illegal sexual activities, including possessing images of child sexual abuse, forcing a child to strip or masturbate, engaging in any kind of sexual activity in front of a child, including watching pornography, taking, downloading, viewing, or distributing sexual images of children, encouraging a child to perform sexual acts in front of a webcam, not taking measures to protect a child from witnessing sexual activity or images, inappropriate sexual touching of a child, whether clothed or unclothed, penetrative sex. The signs that a child are being abused are hard to notice sometimes because children don't talk about sexual abuse because they either think it's their fault or they've been convinced by their abuser that it's normal or a special secret between the two of them. Children may also be bribed or threatened by their abuser or told they will not be believed. A child who is being sexually abused may care for their abuser and worry about getting them into trouble. Here are some of the signs you may notice. Changes in behavior. A child may start being aggressive, withdrawn, clingy, have difficulty sleeping, have regular nightmares, or start wetting the bed. Avoiding the abuser. The child may dislike or seem afraid of them or a particular person and try to avoid spending time alone with them. Sexually inappropriate behavior. Children who have been abused may behave in sexually inappropriate ways or use sexually explicit language. Children of abuse may develop physical problems, like health problems, including soreness in the genitals and anal areas, or sexually transmitted infections, or they may become pregnant. They have problems at school. An abused child may have difficulty concentrating and learning, and their grades may start to drop. Children may also drop hints and clues that the abuse is happening without revealing it outright. Most children are vulnerable for child sexual abuse between the ages of 7 and 13. Children may be sexually abused by any person in their life, including other youth, and are vastly more likely to be abused by someone they already know. More than 9 in 10 people who sexually abuse children are already known to the youth as an acquaintance or family member, while only 4 to 10% of offenders are strangers. More than 1/3 of reported sexual offenses against youth are committed by another youth. Risk factors, including a history of being abused oneself, among others, increase the chance that an adult or youth will sexually abuse or coerce, meaning forcing, manipulating, or bribing someone into a sexual act. I met Stephen when I was 6 years old. He was 12, twice my age. He hung out with my 2 older brothers, mostly befriending my oldest brother. By this time, I was already being molested in my house for the last 2 years. So when Stephen started taking a liking to me, I really thought nothing of it. When he touched me, kissed me, supplied me beer until I was tipsy enough to let him put his hand down my pants, I really never thought twice about it. The truth of the matter is that I liked Stephen. I liked spending time with him, and I liked all the things that he provided us. We were poor kids who didn't get to have Sunny D and didn't have a TV in an extra room and didn't have the latest game console. We definitely didn't have access to beer or cigarettes, but we were just left to do whatever we wanted during this time. My parents would go to work. We'd be left by ourselves, my oldest brother in charge of watching my other older brother and me, and that was our days. So when Stephen came around and offered us some fun during the summer, we took it. I remember with Stephen, it started off innocent enough. I remember very clearly this time we were on top of the garage in his backyard. I'm sure my brothers were downstairs playing video games or watching TV, but definitely not really concerned with what their annoying little sister was doing. So while my brothers were busy, Stephen was on top of the garage with me, giving me those clear animal band-aids from NextCare. They were really popular when I was a kid. They were really popular in the early 90s because they were like tattoos. And kids loved tattoos. You know, it was taboo, but it was a way you could have a tattoo. So it was kind of cool. I remember Stephen coming up to the garage and handing me a pack of these and asking me to put them in sexy places on my body. He wanted me to put them on my thighs, on my hips, my groin, my breasts, my neck. He wanted to pretend that I had all these really sexy tattoos and all these sexy places. So I put them on like he asked, and he began to kiss me in all the places I put tattoos. I feel like he just got bolder and bolder. Because by the time he was done, by the time years had passed by and I was 9 or 10 years old, he was bold enough that he was fingering me under a blanket with my brother sitting on the same couch. Just bold. I'll be honest, this is a little hard to talk about, just because Stephen was my first abuser outside of my home. He was the first friend that I had trusted and who took advantage of that trust. My brothers trusted him. My brothers were good friends with him and would often spend time with him every day. And of course, I would have to come along too because I was the youngest. But what they didn't realize was that I was constantly being sexually abused by Stephen. Stephen would often supply me with beer without my brothers knowing, get me tipsy, and then lay on top of me and masturbate until he finished. I remember that being the first time I ever saw semen. I was very confused. I didn't know what was happening, but even not knowing what was going on, I didn't think it was bad enough to tell an adult, and I didn't think anyone would believe me. I was nervous. I didn't want to get Stephen into trouble, and at the same time, I didn't want to get into trouble. It's so common, though, for another youth to sexually offend another youth. Youth commit more than a third of all sexual offenses against other youth that are reported to police. Sexual offenses are specific, illegal sexual acts, including forcible rape, sodomy, sexual assault with an object, or fondling, and non-forcible incest or statutory rape. The vast majority of youth who sexually offend against other youth are adolescents age 12 to 14 and 15 to 17. Sexual coercion refers to forcing, manipulating, or bribing someone into a sexual act. A variety of factors may put youth at risk for committing sexually coercive behavior. These include a history of trauma, including personal exposure to violence or child maltreatment. Having behaviors that co-occur with these experiences, such as substance abuse and non-sexual violent behavior. Having atypical sexual interests. Frequent pornography consumption. Exposure to violent pornography. Having been sexually abused oneself. Recent evidence shows that experiencing sexual abuse increases a youth's likelihood of committing sexually coercive behavior by more than 2 to 3 times, even when accounting for the impacts of other variables. High rates of sexual abuse histories have also been found in youth who have sexually offended. Overall, most youth who have been sexually abused and most youth in general population will not sexually offend or coerce. Although relatively few youth engage in sexual coercion or offending against another youth, their actions may have significant negative impacts on the youth victimized by them. Children who had an experience of rape or attempted rape in their adolescent years were 13.7 times more likely to experience rape or attempted rape in their first year of college. A child who is the victim of prolonged sexual abuse usually develops low self-esteem, a feeling of worthlessness, and an abnormal or distorted view of sex. The child may become withdrawn and mistrustful of adults, and can become suicidal. The vast majority of cases where there is credible evidence that a child has been penetrated, only between 5 and 15% of those children will have genital injuries consistent with sexual abuse. Sexual abuse is not solely restricted to physical contact. Sexual abuse could include non-contact abuse, such as exposure, voyeurism, and child pornography. Stephen was a big fan of pornography. He would often sit with me in his house while my brothers played on his computer and make me watch porn with him while he sexually touched me. Sometimes he would just have me watch the pornography while he masturbated next to me. I remember one time very specifically. We went over to Stephen's apartment, and my brothers were playing a snowboarding game on his computer. Stephen made us popcorn and sat down in the front room where we both were under a blanket. Stephen ate popcorn as he watched pornography and made me sit and held my hand as I watched pornography as well. I was 8 or 9 years old, and he was 6 years my senior. He turned on this pornography and watched it, and eventually it led to him masturbating next to me on the couch. He finished in his empty popcorn bowl. I think as a child, I showed all the classic symptoms of being sexually abused. I was already being sexually abused in my own home, but I was also now being sexually abused outside of my home. And my dad eventually caught on to what Stephen was doing. One day, my dad went to his apartment and pulled him out of the apartment and told him if he ever touched me again, he would kill him. I honestly think this is the most support I've gotten from my dad ever. By the time I was 9 years old, Stephen had already sexually abused me for 3 years. He was the first abuser who penetrated me. He was the one to supply me with my first beer, my first cigarette, and my first sexual encounter outside of my own home. I looked him up recently on Facebook, and I was surprised to see that he had daughters, 2 of them. Now, this abuser's name is not Stephen Cobble. Of course, I'm not allowed to release the names of these abusers. So, Stephen Cobble is what we will call him. And unfortunately, he taught me a lot. He really shaped my idea of sex and my idea of what it meant to have a boyfriend and what it meant to maybe express sexuality, like a forced expression of sexuality. He occasionally would make me tie up my t-shirts, like tie them to where they were halter tops. I really haven't thought about on in a lot of years. And I don't know why, because I do suffer from trauma because of my sexual abuse. You know, I have been trying to process the sexual trauma that came from my own home for years. I did EMDR to try to work on the sexual abuse I suffered at home. I have been in therapy for my whole life for the sexual abuse that I suffered at home starting at age 4. Stephen Cobble started abusing me at age 6 in the summer of 1997. So what do I take from this experience? I have 2 daughters of my own, and I know it was a goal of mine to get them past the age of 5 without being sexually abused like I was. I just wanted to get them to age 5 without any sexual trauma, and still want to get them to a point where they won't suffer any sexual trauma, but I know statistics are against me. I know statistics say that one of my children will be sexually abused. But if I can break cycles, then maybe my kids can break cycles too. I mean, if anybody could break a cycle, if anybody could do it, it's my children. They are both strong people. Well, thank you for listening to my story. It was hard to tell, I'll be honest. I've never told this story to anyone in detail like I'm telling to you now. I've just never talked about it because it was a time in my life where it was happening to me, but it didn't seem like a big deal. It just didn't seem like trauma to me. I didn't feel like I was being traumatized. Everything felt pretty normal. If you or someone you know is being sexually abused, you can call the National Sexual Assault Hotline at 1-800-656-4673, or you can call 911. So what's next? What happens now? I have switched to live my best life mode, and I'm going to keep doing that, I think. I'm going to keep pursuing relationships with friends, spending time with the people I love, doing the things I enjoy, despite what anybody says. I am going to go and get that tattoo on Friday at 2 o'clock. My dad's going to be pissed. He might not talk to me for a while, but I think he'll be fine eventually. You can always cover tattoos with makeup. My friend Bridget sent me a book that I plan on taking time each night to read. I am propagating some plants, so I have that to work on. And during my break, I got my grow lights in and have plugged them in and set them up. So now I have 3 grow lights on my desk. I also got my fruit flies during lunch. So those are now on my desk in their little containers. I think I'll have a reading sometime this week, and I'll record it for you so you guys can enjoy it next week. I feel like I forgot to mention that I am currently covered in bruises. My dog and I play pretty rough. I think I'm now realizing that I haven't talked to you about my dog, Evie. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I love V for Vendetta. It's one of my favorite movies. And I adopted this dog from the SPCA. She was a 2-month-old puppy that they had marked as a Blue Merle Australian Shepherd, German Shepherd mix. And I knew right away, gosh, I'm going to cry. I knew right away that I had to have her. I knew that she was my dog. You know what I mean? So I adopted her, and now she is 10 months old and thriving, and is a pain, and as a puppy, and I love her, and nobody loves her but me. Nobody loves her but me. She still thinks she's a tiny puppy, so she'll jump up on the kids and basically knock them over because she's so big. And then my mom doesn't like her because she does that with the kids and because she chews on everything. Granted, what she chews on most are her toys because she does have the most toys. She is a very spoiled dog. I love her to death. And so I sent off a DNA test to figure out what she is. I think Josh thinks that she is an Australian cattle dog because of her color and her print. But I don't know. We'll see. So I'm waiting for the results for that. That'll be exciting. And Evie is such a good dog. She's such a good girl. She probably hears me saying her name, and I wouldn't be surprised if she starts barking. But she's such a good girl. She knows how to sit, how to lay down, how to do paw, how to give kisses, how to show her belly, and how to jump up. So she's potty trained. Like, she will go to the back door and just put her paw at the back door to let us know that she wants to go out. The only problem that we have really is that she digs, and she's a herding dog. So occasionally she will just kind of lose her mind and do a big lap around the backyard while the kids are outside playing. And then she will herd them. She will do a lap and then start to herd them, which kind of looks like her knocking over Trixie or her knocking over Ursula. And then when they stand up, she knocks them over again. Or she's just playing with them. You know what I mean? She is the big sister. She's just playing with them. And the kids have a hard time. And she has a hard time because she just thinks she's this little puppy. You know, she thinks she's a little puppy. And not this big puppy. She's a big puppy. She weighs like 50 pounds and she just runs up to you and jumps on top of you. You're gonna end up on the ground. I mean, or, you know. So I have a lot of bruises from her because her and I do play rough. I have bruises on my hands from her biting me, and then I have bruises on my legs from where she just stands on top of me while she's giving me love. I mean, that's all it takes to bruise me nowadays, is just literally standing on top of me on my thighs or on my chest. And that's where I have bruises right now, or on my thighs. And then the one on my chest is just now going away, which is good because it was a huge bruise. It was a huge bruise. But overall, I think she's been a great dog. She's very grounding for me. I just love her so much. I just love her so much. I think she's just a great dog. She really comforts me so much, and I have just missed having a dog. I've missed having an animal. You know, I've grown up with always having dogs. And my best dog, Tessa, oh my gosh, she was such a great dog. But yeah, just having best friends for dogs, since I didn't really have, you know, best friends. But my dogs and my stuffed animals were my best friends. And Evie is such a good girl. She's like one of my best friends. I know that she would protect my children. I know that she protect me. I know she thinks she's part of the family because she is, you know. And I know if somebody tried to ever hurt my kids, she would hurt them, because those are her sisters. She treats them like sisters. She does. She'll just go and sit right on top of them while they're laying on the couch playing video games and just chill. And she's just like, yeah, so I'm on top of you. Now I'm gonna just lay on you and chew on my bone. I just think she's wonderful. She's been a wonderful addition to the family, in my opinion, but you know, I know that's just me. Evie's a good girl. She's a good girl. And when she's a little older, I'll get her some more obedience training. But for right now, I feel like she's doing a good job with stuff, you know. So I think that's about it for me today. Thanks for listening. This episode has kind of been a hard one. But thanks for coming back, and thanks for listening to these stories. These are stories that need to be told so that others feel less alone, you know, so that you know that the terrible experience that you've gone through, somebody has probably gone through something so similar or just the same. And it's nice to know that you're not alone out there. Please share your stories. Find that bravery, that courage inside of yourself, and tell your story. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. I love you. Bye.